And today I want us to have a look at the key theme of freedom in the novel. Very, very important. So we'll look at the theme and some key quotes that go with it. So we've already seen that Papa acts tyrannically. So do those in power, coming from the head of state all the way down. The Nigerian government violently cracked down on individual freedoms. Ade Koko is killed. Antifwoma is sacked. Papa's business is closed down. There's also the lack of freedom with Papa's family members. He controls them. And I think Adichie is exploring this idea in a novel that if you do oppress others, they will eventually rise up to assert their freedoms. We see this with Jaja's increasing defiance of Papa, refusing to go to church on Palm Sunday, for example. We see it with Kambili's keeping of the painting of Papa and Ukru, and eventually Mama's poisoning of Papa. Let's look at some key quotes. Feel free to shorten them so they're even easier to learn, of course. So Jaja's defiance seemed like Ifwoma's experimental purple hibiscus, rare, fragrant with the undertones of freedom, a different kind of freedom from the one the crowds waving green leaves chanted at Government Square after the coup, a freedom to be, to do. What you see here is Kambili comparing Jaja's push for freedom to Aunt Ifwoma's purple hibiscus. Repetition of freedom emphasizes the importance of this theme to the reader. The educated ones leave. The ones with the potential to right the wrongs, they leave the weak behind. The tyrants continue to reign because the weak cannot resist. Well, here you see Adichie emphasizing how the corruption of leaders is an inescapable cycle because there's a brain drain and the intellectuals leave Nigeria, leaving the weak who can be easily controlled. This quote shows the theme of freedom and repression at a national level. You might identify Adichie's technique of repetition for emphasis here to leave and weak. Next quote. It was what Auntie Ifwoma did to my cousins, I realised then, setting higher and higher jumps for them in the way she talked to them, in what she expected of them. She did it all the time, believing they would scale the rod, and they did. It was different for Jaja and me. We did not scale the rod because we believed we could. We scaled it because we were terrified that we couldn't. So if the previous quote was about the theme at a national level, this one shows the theme at a family and individual level. Here you see the contrast between the parenting style of Auntie Ifwoma, which is positive, challenging and encouraging, with Papa's, which is based on fear and terrifying Jaja and Kambili. Auntie Ifwoma believes they would develop, whereas Papa makes Jaja and Kambili terrified of meeting Papa's kind of exacting standards. Auntie Ifwoma's parenting allows her children freedom, whereas Papa's is based on terror, fear, and repression. There are people, she once wrote, who think that we cannot rule ourselves because the few times we tried, we failed, as if all the others who rule themselves today got it right the first time. It's like telling a crawling baby who tries to walk and then falls back on his buttocks to stay there, as if the adults walking past him did not crawl once. Well, here, Adichie is using an analogy. An analogy is a comparison of two otherwise unlike things. And here she's making the point that just as a toddler learns to walk by trying and failing multiple times, so Nigerians must be prepared to try multiple times and learn from previous mistakes before it can walk as a democratic modern nation. We all have to start somewhere, obviously. Well, I hope this has been helpful. There are obviously many more freedom quotes that you can find in there, but at least this is a start for you. Please do check out other micro videos in this series. And of course, if you've got any questions, put them in the comments. See you next time on the channel. Goodbye.